The world government, an evolved form of the UN, is technically a democracy but is extremely corrupt. One woman has been ruling the world for many years. The upper class is so caught up in their electronic entertainment and are swayed so much by propaganda that she pretty much has complete control over them and who they vote for. The lower class is mostly or entirely neglected when it comes to having a say in the government. Since they are so disregarded by the official government, there are many small and even a few very large communities that have developed governments of their own.
In the education department, there will be many subjects that will be taught. The main emphasis of teaching is going to be towards STEM subjects, such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These will be vital to our country because most of these jobs will be engineers, robot programmers, doctors, and other STEM correlated jobs. Also, history will have a lower emphasis because the government believes that there are a lot more better ways to dedicate education time instead of learning about dead people. Also, English will not be taught as in-depth as it is at the moment because there can be a lot more things you can be learning instead. Also, education is more focused and biased on doing work for the government and ways that can actually benefit the economy of the government the most. Housing is going to be very much limited due to the massive overpopulation for the past few years. And land is getting used for many different reasons. So instead of building out, we had to build up. Each apartment is classified as 7 tiers: homeless, low class, low medium class, high medium class, high class, and elite class. The higher class you get, the more land you get for an apartment, and more luxury features it will have. Most homeless and medium-class buildings look and are constructed exactly the same, while higher classes has more distinct features. Also, urban rich areas are covered with a bubble that blocks out polluted air. Because pollution became such a big problem, it was causing many diseases. While low class are outside of the bubble, away from the rich people, where pollution is located. They are outside of the city. This quality of life of the poor can almost be classified as a dystopian state for the poor people.
In the lower class society, factory workers are one of the most popular job choices. They produce many of the components used in everyday higher society life, such as robot parts and that type of thing. Farmers, however, are the second most common. Some farmers grow the food to sustain their family or village, but others trade their food with upper class society. Speaking of the upper class, they have a pretty similar job choice to now, with a few differences. Jobs like lawyers, doctors, teachers, politicians are all still employed by humans. But other, more dangerous or obscure jobs, such as construction work, police, firemen, and other types like that, are employed by robots. In the future, there are two main types of economies. For the upper class society, they have a market economy, also known as capitalism. The currency they use is basically electronic because paper currency has become obsolete. Vendors and stores sell most everything like food, goods, and services. Very similar to what we have going on now. However, the lower class society's economy is based mostly on trade. This is because most people living there don't have the access to technology to sustain electronic money. Because there is no widely used form of currency, the farmers usually trade their food for other goods and or services. And the factory workers usually just export their product directly to major cities.
Classes, both are going to have around 2 children per family, along with a mother and father. Lots of kinds in the richer upper classes are all caught up in their VRs and always immersed in their technology, which is what most of the families are usually doing, and is always based around technologies and such. While children in the lower classes are usually playing with the cheapest technology that are available for lower classes. Families in this time aren't very close together and try their best not to kill each other. except for the upper classes, which the families love each other very much so, and are very well bonded, and the parents are always trying to be involved in what the children are doing and want their children to be as successful as them in the future.
In this future, the upper class's food is entirely 3D printed. Everything from spaghetti to more spaghetti is printed by 3D printers. The only downside of this is that flavors are substantially weakened and made worse. But nobody really cares, since they're all so focused on shopping, TV, and their virtual reality worlds. In extremely rich households, robots, commonly called food bots, even print the food for you. In the lower classes outside the cities, however, some of this food is supposed to be delivered by the government, but often there isn't nearly enough food, and sometimes no food at all. The people are forced to hunt and farm themselves in order to feed themselves.
That is much more plain, with mostly geometric figures like trapezoids and irregular pentagons, and other many wacky figures. But for the poorer classes, they are just wearing any clothes they could find in the trash that have been disposed of, but are still the clothes that the upper classes are wearing, just a little bit worn out, since that's what the upper classes have disposed of.
In the cities, health is practically perfect. A cure has been found for cancer, along with almost every other disease that ever existed. Most of today's serious problems can be cured by a single trip to a doctor's office, oftentimes without another human even present, only machines. The richest of households even have most of these doctors' machines in their homes. Outside the cities, though, many diseases run rampant, and there normally aren't any doctors there to help the situation.
Basic animals that form mutations which can produce 2 times more food. But since our population has increased to 10 billion people, the lower class people have to get the live animal food along with the high end people who are disgusted in 3D printed foods. And many of the lower class people are very poor, so they have to go hunting on their own. But the downside is in the process of using mutated animals is that some of the meat becomes messed up by the bad genes of the animal which is thrown away, caused by the carbon dioxide in the air. And no one cares to fix it or do anything about it because the scientists could care less about the poorer people and just want to get paid by the richer people. The air of this time is very polluted because of all the fossil fuels we used and is almost deadly to breathe. It causes many illnesses and has caused lung cancer to many of the lower class people, but not to the upper class people, since they have paid scientists to invent a bubble around their home and themselves that only allows pure oxygen and doesn't allow carbon dioxide and other gases that are dangerous to breathe.
Next, I'm going to talk about leisure. In the upper class society, there are many things to do for fun. One of the most popular is to play video games in VR, otherwise known as virtual reality. You can also watch television shows on the Holo TV, an amazing invention that takes a television broadcast and projects it in 3D around you, which makes the experience much more immersive. However, lower class society has it a lot tougher, with very few luxuries or things they can do for fun. This is due to the fact that most of them are in varying layers of poverty.
Species have been slowly evolving as global temperatures have been rising. Polar bears have slowly been getting extinct due to the climate change and melting of ice. Therefore, polar bears that did survive learned new habits and changed their appearance to survive on every type of landmass and weather. Also, new features that the polar bear grew were a longer tail to assist swimming, different feet, almost like sea turtles, to help swimming as well. The polar bears kept the fur in order to withstand harsh environment conditions. Polar bear swimming techniques are to come up, then go down in order to take breaths. And they never swim completely underwater due to the lack of gills. Also, a new and improved mosquito species have been appeared. Due to the increase in global temperature, mosquitoes were allowed to thrive, so that they started to roam all over the earth. They also have been changed genetically to spread with vaccines, antibodies, and other helpful organisms instead of spreading disease through the dominant trait. They also have been growing stronger wings and legs as well in order to roam all around the world.